I request the participants to turn off their microphones. I repeat, I request the participants to turn off their microphones, please. I request the participants of today's session to unmute their microphones.
Ma'am, happy morning and happy new year, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, so you're
Yes,
audible.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this is Selva Kumar. Ma'am, we are in a workplace, ma'am. I mean, we are in a college, ma'am. Is there? I mean, if there is any background noise, is it okay, ma'am, to keep the microphone on?
No, actually, we were wrong. Like, you have to turn off your microphones throughout the session.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Since it was turned off, I just wanted to ask you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh,
Look, Hello.
An announcement to the participants. I request all the participants to mute their audio and video throughout the session and kindly support us for the same. The session will begin shortly. A beautiful morning to the respected dignitaries and members of faculty from institutions who have gathered here. As we pursue our hopes and dreams, may this new year bring us much success and may our journey be wonderful. The Department of English, VET Institute of Arts and Science, wishes you all a happy and prosperous year ahead. We are glad to welcome you all for the 6-day virtual international faculty development program on emerging trends and challenges in teaching language and literature. Prayer is the raising of one's mind and heart to the God. Let's invoke the blessings of the Lord Almighty with a prayer song.
गणनायकाय गणदैवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणाधीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
I request Dr. Moganasundari L., Head and Associate Professor of English, VET Institute of Arts and Science, to deliver the welcome note and also highlight upon the object of organizing the faculty development program. Please, ma'am.
Happy morning to all. Great things happen when there is a gathering of great minds. It's a true pleasure for me to welcome all who join and become a part of this 6-day virtual international faculty development program on emerging trends and challenges in teaching language and literature. First and foremost, I'm much privileged to welcome our dignified Secretary, Thiru S.D. Chandrasekhar, the pole star of Vellalar Educational Institutions. Next, it is indeed a matter of pride for me to welcome our esteemed advisor, who is well known for his virtue and simplicity. It gives me an immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to our respected principal, Dr. R. Saravanan, who has been a constant source of encouragement and a pillar of support in all our ventures. I render a hearty welcome to our administrative officer, Mr. S. Lokesh Kumar, who has been making significant contribution to this elite institution through his efficiency and effectiveness. Next, I render a heartful welcome to our respected Dean Sir, who always serves as a guiding force behind all our ventures. Next, it's my profound duty to extend a cordial welcome to all the distinguished speakers who spare their valuable time by taking part in this program. I welcome Ms. Shivagauri Rajshantan, Senior Lecturer, Department of English Language Teaching, University of Jaffna, Sri Lanka, and Dr. Justin James, E-Learning Coordinator, University of Technology and Applied Science, Sultanate of Oman, Dr. Manchukumari, Head and Assistant Professor, Nirmala College for Women, Coimbatore, Dr. Madangi V, Assistant Professor in English, PSGR Krishnamal College for Women, Coimbatore, Mr. Ronald Hadrian, Assistant Professor in English, Karpagam Academy of Higher Education, Coimbatore, and Ms. Evelyn Nandini Gunashekaran, Assistant Professor in English, Bishop Heber College, Trichy. I'm really indebted to them for their kind concern, without which this program couldn't be possible. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to all my teaching friends from India and abroad, whose mass support has made this program a mega happening. I hope this program will bring out new horizons in teaching language and literature. Also, it will enable us to push ourselves to new standards of excellence in teaching. Once again, I welcome one and all to this FTP. And also, I wish all a wonderful new year. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. A good leader not only inspires his team, he also inspires the world. One such leader is amidst us who constantly inspires everyone around him to create a better future for the student fraternity. May I now request our true leader, our principal, Dr. Saravanan, to deliver the presidential address. Please, sir.
of the A warm welcome to the respected dignitaries and distinguished chief guests of the first session, 60 virtual international faculty development program on emerging trends and challenges in teaching language and literature. I welcome all the participants and the faculty members from the education institutions worldwide. This is the second international faculty development program organized by School of Literature since the inauguration of Vet-Ias Institute of Arts and Science, co-ed college in 2019. I am very much happy to know that around 1,200 participants have registered for this FDP, in which 60 participants are from countries like Sri Lanka, Saudi Arabia, Philippines, Oman, Nepal, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Algeria, Indonesia, United Arab Emirates, and such countries, and rest are from various parts of India. I welcome all the participants to this FTP. I believe that the main objective of this FTP is to enhance the faculty members with knowledge and skill required for teaching in the ever-changing scenario. I wholeheartedly wish this international FTP a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. I request the man of quality, Mr. Lokesh Kumar S., Administrative Officer, VET Institute of Arts and Science, to offer felicitation. Please, sir.
Distinguished chief guest and the other dignitaries present here today, a warm good morning to all of you. On behalf of VET Institute of Arts and Science Co-Education College, I welcome you all for the 6-day virtual International Faculty Development Program on emerging trends and challenges in teaching language and literature organized by the Department of English. The Faculty Development Program intends to provide an opportunity to exchange ideas, establishing new relationships, and to sharpen the knowledge of the faculty members. I hope the key takeaway of this faculty development program would be highly constructive and nurture a productive environment among the student community. I profoundly congratulate all the members of the organizing team for their selfless effort to make this faculty development program as an insightful one. Let me conclude by wishing that each one of you will carry memories back from here, some beneficial ideas related to the topic. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I call upon Dr. D. Geeta, Assistant Professor of English, to introduce the speaker of today's session. Please, ma'am.
A pleasant morning, everyone. On this special occasion, I'm highly honored to introduce our today's speaker, Ms. Shivgauri Rajashantan, who is a real inspiration for her accomplishment she has made are not an easy task. Currently, she is working as a senior lecturer, grade 2 at Department of English Language Teaching at University of Jaffna, Sri Lanka. She is a research scholar in ELT at University of Kelania. She did her Master of Philosophy in English at University of Kelania. She completed her post-graduation and undergraduation at University of Jaffna, Sri Lanka. Ms. Shivgauri Rajashantan started her profession as a lecturer in Department of English Language Teaching, University of Jaffna in 2010. She was an assistant lecturer in the Department of Linguistics and English from April 2008 to December 2009 at University of Jaffna, and also worked as a teaching assistant at Alliance Francis D. Jaffna from 2007 to 10. She has been a course coordinator for various disciplines since 2019. She has been involved in the interdepartmental teaching, and also she has done curriculum planning and development for various co-modules. During 2013 to 2015, she has received scholarship under Higher Education for 20th Century, funded by the World Bank to pursue MPhil in English. She was selected as the youth representative from Sri Lanka to present a paper at the World Youth Conference at National University of Singapore. She was one among the 15 participants selected from SAARC countries for Japan Leadership Development Study Program in 2008. In addition, she has been conferred University Award for the best performance in English literature, received awards and medals for English and Tamil speech and drama competitions held at the university level. She has also bagged Vinasithambi Award for being the best student in English literature at the University of Jaffna in 2006. She has presented more than 29 papers and published around 16 papers at national and international level conferences. She has also been a resource person for various national and international level conferences and symposiums. It's a privilege for all of us to have such an eminent personality as our esteemed speaker today. May I invite Ms. Shivgauri Rajasan ma'am to inspire and enlighten us with her valuable thoughts and ideas on teaching English language and literature in Sri Lankan context, a critical analysis. Now I hand over the session to you, ma'am. Please.
Thank you so much for the introduction and good morning, all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity provided. I'm really proud of being with you here today. It's my immense pleasure of giving my insights about teaching English language in Sri Lankan context. This is going to be a critical analysis based on my research and also the research done by my students. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, it's my duty to tell you a brief introduction of status of English in South Asian countries. So the content of my speech is today going to be with the status of English in South Asia and the role of English in South Asia, and especially in Sri Lanka, and the basic education system in Sri Lanka, as most of you are not aware of the education system that prevailed in Sri Lanka. And at the same time, in my talk, I'm going to include English language and education in Sri Lanka and English language policy history and how these policies are enacted in Sri Lanka. And this presentation is also includes English language teaching in practice and the barriers the secondary teachers have and the students have of learning English language and the gaps between the policy and the practice. And finally, this presentation concludes with the opportunities and challenges and saying something about the future trends. As far as English is concerned, across the South Asian countries, it is widely seen as the language of social mobility and also the educational opportunity, employability, global business, and dialogue. So many consider English as a language and English skills to be an essential component of economic development and growth, both on an individual and also the national or regional level. However, inclusion of English within language in education policies that must simultaneously promote other national languages along with its history as a colonial or sometimes maybe and allied language in most of the countries of this region. Say example, if Sri Lanka is considered. So that means it does not always sit easily within the education systems as it becomes a very dominant language. And the place of English within school system in South Asia has fluctuated over the time periods from the colonial period to the post-colonial period. And a number of challenges remain around ensuring equitable, high-quality provision of English language teaching and learning for all who want to need or to acquire this language. So English, it has a colonial history in Sri Lanka and was the official language of administration until the independence of the country in 1948. So in 1950s, Sinhala and later Tamil became the official languages, and English was de-emphasized during the period of resurgence of the we can call during the nationalist period. That during this nationalism and ethnic conflict, the role of English language had changed a lot. So English was re-established as a lingua language in Sri Lanka by 1987 with the 13th Amendment to the 1978 Constitution. And then this language, it becomes this acting as a political neutral language, and also it played as a trilingual, as one of the three languages of Sri Lanka: Tamil, Sinhala, and English. Today, Sinhala and Tamil are the official, or they are regarded as the national languages in the country. English does not, legally speaking, enjoy either of those positions, but is instead the lingua language. It is given the title lingua language to indicate that it is the common language between the Sinhala and Tamil communities. So according to the article of the Constitution of 2022, it explains the language of the administration. A person is eligible to receive communication in language that may be English if the original communication is available only in Sinhala or in Tamil. And at the same time, the language legislation of Sri Lanka, that is the Article 23, it mentions all the laws and subordinate legislation shall be enacted or made and published in Sinhala and Tamil together with the translation thereof in English. So this indicates that although English is not identified as an official language in the Constitution of Sri Lanka, it enjoys the status of an official language in some respects. And apart from that, it is still the language of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka, and also frequently used as the language in the court of the AP. So in addition to that, it is widely used in the media and advertising, and it also plays an important role, particularly in higher education, and it's also the language of commercial sector and private business. So, but before that, I think that it is must to introduce you the general context of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, as most of you have known, it's known as Ceylon until 1972, is situated 18 miles off the southern eastern tip of Indian subcontinent. It is the location of Sri Lanka was very important during the early period of its history, because as it was situated in a very strategic position on the sea trade route between China and the West. And Sri Lanka is an island. It's comparatively small in size. If we have considered the ethnography of Sri Lanka, the major ethnic groups of Sri Lanka consist of diverse ethnic groups: Sinhala, Tamil, and Muslim. Two main languages are spoken in the country. Sinhala is spoken approximately 70% of the people, and Tamil by 16% of the population. English in Sri Lanka has a colonial roots, and it was made the official administrative language of the country in 1833. As far as the location, the north and east of Sri Lanka is predominantly occupied by Tamils. That is the northern part of Sri Lanka, who consider the areas to be their homeland, and the northern province is fully inhabited by Tamils, whereas the eastern province of the country, it's a significant percentage of Sinhalese, and a majority of Muslims can be found. And the southern and the western of the central provinces of Sri Lanka are heavily populated by Sinhalese, along with the Tamils and Muslims as minority groups. A small percentage of Sinhalese and Muslims who were living in the northern for a long time moved to the other parts of the country after these ethnic problems. And as far as the post-colonial and contemporary Sri Lanka is concerned, and all of you have aware, all of you, you know about this, the ethnic conflicts that had gone through this country over the past 30 years. The independence of the government had a strong national commitment to education and helped the country to achieve one of the highest literary level as far as the Asia is concerned. But during this ethnic, since the independence today, the striking event of the Sri Lankan history was the dispute over the equality of two major ethnic groups. And at the same time, the post-conflict Sri Lanka has experienced the growth of infrastructure of the country, rehabilitation of people in war-affected areas, an increase in economic investment by foreign countries, and also an increase in tourism. However, the government has been reluctant to seek permanent solution to these problems, even though nowadays the country is facing major economic crises and the brain drain is the common phenomena that could be able to find out in the country. So if we have seen the basic education system of Sri Lanka, according to the Ministry of Education's annual school census report, it states that school education is divided into 4 categories. So that can be from the primary education, that means this grade 1 to 5, and then junior secondary and senior secondary and senior secondary, that means that A levels 12 to 13. Apart from that, there are higher education, that means the tertiary and the vocational education. So you could be able to find out the statistics of this education process, that as far as the population is concerned, there are 21.9 million population in Sri Lanka, and the local languages, Tamil and Sinhala, should be made as the medium of instruction in the primary school as per the government policies or the national policies, and English should be taught as a second language in all schools from grade 3 to A levels, and the compulsory education should be from 5 to 16 years of age. And English is also the compulsory subject from grade 3 to advanced level. At the same time, in schools at all levels, that means primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, and the tertiary, English taught as a subject for 5 periods. At the primary level, each period lasts for 30 minutes duration, while the upper levels duration is nearly 40 minutes. And as far as that, there are 2 term tests followed by the year-end examination in academic year. The first national level examination for the students' English language is held at all level. That means that general certificate in English ordinary level. And in addition to that, English language examinations, limited number of students who are already somewhat very fluent in English, they have preferred or they taken English literature. So they also take this examination at the GC all levels, and this English literature examination is offered in GCA level, that means general certificate in advanced level, that means they could be able to get this examination also. So the educationalists consider this kind of introduction of English literature to the school curriculum in 1993 is a progressive step to promote English education in Sri Lanka. But however, only the schools in the metropolitan areas prepare the students for this examination, along with the schools in the few urban areas in the island. So even though only a few students sit for this examination, the preference for these candidates at both O level and A level is higher. This kind of scenario indicates that only those students who are very proficient in English language sit for the literature examination. So if we compare this situation with the performance of general examination, which is very common examination for all the students, irrespective of their A-level streams. So such as there are 4 streams: arts, commerce, maths or biology. So the performance is very poor. For example, we can have a statistic in 2019, out of 250,000 students who sat for this English general examination, only 40% of students passed the examination. So the importance of paying attention to these secondary education is the problems faced at the tertiary level. So degree programs at the university, as far as concerned, here at the universities, all over the universities in the country, there are 3 types of degree programs are available for the students. So what is the one is the English literature, and the second is the service English for those students who are offering other subjects, say example offering engineering, medicine, science, management, and also third is the English language teaching degree. So this traditional English degree, it is the oldest program. The students who could be able to qualify in their A-levels who are offering English literature, they could be able to do this English literature special degree. And the service English, that means it's a second program in the historical terms, is what might be termed as the service English. That means it will help the students to handle their subjects very fluently. That means this began with the half century. It has a long history all over the country. At the universities, this language, English language teaching, these departments are established, giving English for specific purposes. So the English language is taught in those departments, and sometimes these language courses are interrelated with English literature courses. And the third one is the English language degree program. This is this language program. It has been commenced with the establishment or upgrading the English language units or centers as the department. So this is the present scenario at the Sri Lankan tertiary, especially the higher education level, the universities. And it is very important, I think, to get to know the pre-colonial Sri Lankan education system, to see the difficulties that the students and teachers faced of teaching and learning English language and literature at present. In the pre-colonial period, the past education was provided by religious institutions or the schools, as in all over the South Asian countries. Though these systems developed in conjunction with the religious affinities of the ethnic groups, and Sinhalese, so their region is Buddhism, established village schools or the Privenas, and also Tamils also follow this based on their religion, Hinduism. And after the arrival of Western rulers from the beginning of the 16th century, so this kind of indigenous system of education interrupted, and after the invasion of Portuguese, the first Western school was established in the island in 1505. So at that later stage, the Dutch and the British were interested in establishing mission schools in Sri Lanka. The mission schools established by British provided English education through the medium of English, while the missionaries who managed these mission schools had another function of propagating Christianity. So that was their main aim, and they educated the people. The Sri Lankan education system reflected mainly the British model even now. It has not yet been changed. In Britain, there was 2 types of school at the beginning of 19th century. All of you are aware of that system. One was the charity and the village school, which catered the poor working masses, and other was the grammar and public school. Of schools accommodated academically bright students from the working and the middle class. So this kind of phenomena could be able to find in the colonial British Sri Lanka. So, and even during the British rule, the three types of schools, say English schools, Anglo-vernacular schools, and vernacular schools emerged in Sri Lanka. And in Jaffna, the first girls' education institution of the school was established as Woodville Girls College. And in South Asia, it was considered as the first school which has given education to the girls or the women. And during these periods, the schools provided instructions in local languages also at the very low level, and also the English at the high level. And the students who studied in the schools, they prepared themselves for the local examination and also the British examination. And the vernacular schools conducted the education in mother tongue, and they provided only elementary education for poor and rural people. And through the medium of instruction at the tertiary sector was English at the beginning. And the free education policy, which could be able to find in Sri Lanka of the government, and the promotion of mother tongue instruction at the secondary level had a major impact on the medium of instruction, even the universities also. So the national policy changes in the secondary education sector were immediately realized in the tertiary sector also. So in the 1960s, the University of Ceylon started to teach the students the mother tongue. And but this teaching was confined to the courses in the arts and the related fields, whereas courses in, say, example, science, medicine, engineering, and science-related subject, technological subjects, they continue to be taught in English. Even though the successive governments in power neglected the importance of English medium education, they could not isolate English language from society because of the importance it has a global language. But the singular became the official language of administration, and both vernaculars took over the primary and secondary education. It was very difficult to dislodge English from many other domains. So English, it remained the language of higher education, commerce, communication, technology, and also for travel. So in this sense, English was still a working official language in many institutional domains. Even still, it prevails as the language of communication. And also, added to this, it was the power of English derived from the being an international language, which still assured its known as the prestigious position in the Sri Lankan society. So it is therefore understood that the attempt to develop the vernacular languages, Sinhala or Tamil, mainly we can say Sinhala over English, has not been as successful as expected by the nationalists. So especially the Tamils continue to learn English as they believe that English was still associated with certain material advantage both within the island and the outside. And many people learned and educated in UK, and there was a contradiction between government policies and the practices on the ground. So though English had lost its status as an official language, it continued to be used as an international language even after the colonial period. So the number of bodies and also specific responsibility for language policies. If we have seen this English language, it becomes the language of administration. And so how this, the policies and the enactment of policies have changed over the period. So number of bodies, they have specific responsibility for language policies. The Department of Official Languages, it implements official language policy in the country, and also the Official Language Commission, it makes policy recommendation and ensures compliance regarding language learning and teaching process and the difficulties that people encounter, and also the National Institute of Language Education and Training, which was set up in 2007, also responsible for training of language teachers, as well as the training of translators, interpreters, and policy servants in the 3 languages. As far as the policies are concerned, in 1947, with the amendment to the Education Ordinance number 31, English, it became the language for the school leavers, and in 1956, the Sinhala Only Act, it brought the status as the only official language of Sri Lanka, but the successive governments had changed the language policy, and in 2001, the Ministry of Education circular, it defines science stream students, they had to follow their subjects in English medium. And 2009, a huge change happened in the education policy, and English was regarded as the life skill, and the program was launched by the Presidential Task Force. So English language policy has gone through several changes in different periods. It could be seen here. And in the pre-independence colonial era, from being the medium of education in most schools, and then as a result of English medium education, a group of people, or privileged people, mostly the Tamil, emerged, and after the implementation of Sinhala Only Act, the scenario has totally changed, and these changes led to a gradual decrease of the quality of English language provision in the country. And in 1980s, the attempts were made to give prominence to English language education, and starting age of instruction was again from grade 3 onwards, but it also failed. And these reforms made English as a core subject from grade 3 to O level, and introduced play and activity based tasks at the secondary level. And currently, the policy remains the same. The formal instruction commences in grade 3, while the activity-based oral English starts in grade 1. And in 1997, reforms included a focus on student-centered learning, and still this kind of learning process is going on. However, the policy did not specify how much time should be spent on each of these skills. And say example, there was a study took place in 2019. It indicated that only 50% of teaching was student-centered, and most of the teaching was conducted in a very traditional way. And Chapter 4 of the Article of 21 of 1978 Constitution of Sri Lanka provides that people have the right to educate through the medium of either their national language, that can be in Sinhala and Tamil. So this English medium education has been available since 2001 in the state secondary education for some subjects in some schools. Only if the students prefer, they can offer those subjects in English medium. And in 2001, science stream courses were made available in English medium at the A level, and at present, science and math stream students could be able to follow their subjects in English medium. And also the bilingual education was recommended by the National School Project in 2001, but it also failed because of the purpose of the project was to foster the integration of the mutual understanding by bringing students from ethnic groups, but it was simply impossible of integrating the ethnic groups from different communities, and it was later renamed as the Alternative Bilingual School Projects via Circular number 4 of the Ministry of Education. And it recommended bilingual education from grade 6 to junior secondary is essential, and despite its name, the initiative entitled offering a few classes in English medium rather than giving all the subjects in English medium was at a failure. And in the national school sector, international school sector, English is the main medium of instruction. So the presidential initiative known as the English as a life skill, which was introduced in 2009 in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and all its related bodies. So this project is aimed to enhance the spoken and communicative language skills of students by providing training, teachers, guides on teaching listening and speaking skills, because most of the students, they are lacking in listening and speaking skills. So this was also linked with another initiative called Speak English Our Way, and they have introduced lot of teaching materials which attempt to make the teachers teach Sri Lankan English for oral communication. So the variety of Sri Lankan English emerged as a dominant variety in South Asia. And however, all these initiatives appear to have been unsuccessful. The testing of English language proficiency, it indicates that the students in the 4 skills, the students achieve the lowest score in speaking as far as the writing is concerned. And at the same time, the Transforming School Education project, it's supported by the World Bank and the other funders, aim to transform school education to lay the foundation for middle income knowledge-based economy. So this included the science and introducing content and language integrated learning, CLIL, framework to nearly 1,000 schools in Sri Lanka, all over the Sri Lanka. And as part of this project, nowadays at the universities also, these content and language integrated learning methods have been introduced. So the several studies are going on the success or the failures of having or introducing this kind of models in Sri Lankan context, but the implementation of CLIL science classes in 4 schools of North, recently we have found out that most of the teachers did not understand how to integrate the components of CLIL into their classes. At the same time, if we have seen the English language teaching in practice, this can be seen through the curriculum which has been designed by the Ministry of Education with the help of the university staff, and also the textbooks, and also resources and ICT for teaching and learning activities. The primary level education in Sri Lanka indicates, as I have pointed out earlier, it's from grade 1 to 5. And grade 1 and grade 2 students, mostly they are exposed to an activity-based oral English programs. So the pedagogic approach at these levels is, it stresses, always it emphasizes the communicative language teaching rather than the memorization of grammatical structures or memorizing the stanzas or poetry. And also the formal text-based English language teaching starts at grade 3. So according to the syllabus of for grade 3 and to 5, it aims to lay the foundation for gradual development of the students' abilities to communicate effectively in English through speaking, reading, writing, and listening, and to enrich students' participation in primary school through positive, enjoyable foreign language learning experience, develop positive attitudes in students that encourage them to learn English further in secondary schools. At the same time, this curriculum, it has these intended learning outcomes such as build students' confidence in their ability to succeed in learning the language and to provide support to acquire the basic competency related to the national education policy through an additional language teaching program. So the main purpose is to provide sufficient command of language to enable the students to use English in real life situation as and when the need arises. So that's why in 2009, English was renamed as life skill. So an overview of existing English language curriculum at secondary levels, it identified the curriculum aims to promote a competency-oriented approach. So mainly for creating the need to learn English as a second language in a multilingual society. And at the same time, creating facilities to learn language which can be used to build ethnic harmony, enabling the students to learn an international language which could be made use in their later part of their life, or especially for the employment purposes. So this will empower the learners to communicate confidently, fluently, and effectively in English language. This highlights that competency descriptors are too vague in this curriculum. So as far as these ILOs are considered, these indicators, they are too vague. At the same time, they could lead to different interpretation by teachers as they don't have the modules. So, and at the same time, listening and speaking skills are completely neglected in classes while they are giving more priority to reading and writing. As far as the textbooks of these all schools, state schools are considered, so they use the same syllabus, and also the pupils books and workbooks and teachers guide in all grades, which are provided free of charge by the government, as the free education is available in Sri Lanka. So the textbooks currently used for grade 3 to 5 were first published between 2017 and 2019. So according to our analysis made, that the content of the textbooks contain items such as vocabulary activities, sentence containing basic grammar structures, songs, and simple reading sets. So which means that the students are not much exposed to authentic language learning environment or the inputs or situation, given opportunity to practice language in authentic situation. So the main thing that could be found is the speaking seems to be treated as a byproduct of listening or as a reading aloud. So they have only giving importance to reading. So that is, the students are mostly expected to practice speaking by imitating the teacher. So there is a mismatch between the competency descriptors and the activities in the textbooks. So the activities are also not arranged in the coherent manner that would allow the teachers and the students to easily map them against the competency in the curriculum. So as far as these assessments are considered, for those students who are following the secondary education, and the primary education, they have these national examinations in the scholarships. So it was not a compulsory exam, but the grade 11 exam, that is the GC O-level examination, and grade 13, that is known as the GC A-level examination, where the recent statistics, it indicate the number of candidates who passed in English. It clearly reveals that the number of students passed in this English language is increasing, but as if we consider the input given by the government and the money spent by the government is higher than the output of the students. And at the same time, another important thing is the ICT. the challenges of using ICT is also a big challenge for most of the secondary school teachers in Sri Lanka, because this ICT was introduced as even as the subject in the curriculum in 2006, and it was introduced as a subject in O-level and A-level examination with the aim of increasing ICT literacy among the grade 3 to 9 students. And in the use of this ICT in teaching in other subject was another aim of introducing ICT school, and government spent a lot. However, this ICT use in teaching and learning at state schools seem to be at very minimal level as far as this pre-pandemic period is concerned. But as in every other country, this pandemic, it brought several changes to the education system, and also in Sri Lanka. So the use of ICT in teaching increased due to the move to online teaching. But recently, a survey was conducted in a very rural area of Sri Lanka among the teachers and the students and also the parents in 19 schools. And the thing is, they found that only the 27% of the teachers, they could be able to use the standard online teaching platform. That means that Zoom or Google Classroom. And still the 7.5% of teachers, they use traditional teaching methods, and during those periods, they never conducted any classes to the students. So they prefer to conduct the small face-to-face classes even at their houses. So the most interesting thing is that they send the students SMS of instructing students to do self-study. And at the same time, these assessments the students, the most important thing we have to consider that those from very poor economic backgrounds can also win a scholarship for these grade 5 scholarship if they pass it. And even in this O levels also, according to the performances indicators published by the Department of Examinations, candidates' performances English in the examination is worse than the other subjects. And most important thing that we have to consider is in the O levels, most of the students, they prefer to select or ignore English literature and want to select other subjects, aesthetic subjects, because they want to get the higher results. And English language education is concerned, English language teachers are concerned, the teacher recruitment is the main entry route through National College of Education. These National College of Educations are providing English trained teachers, and students who pass GC O-level examination are eligible to apply for the 3-year pre-service teacher training programs in these schools, these colleges. So, however, the university graduates of other degree subjects, so mainly English literature students, undergraduates, so after completing their degree program, they may lack any knowledge of English teaching. They have the practical exposure to language teaching, are also recruited as teachers in schools. And in addition to that, on provisional needs, there are more ad hoc recruitment initiatives. For example, in these cases, candidates are usually selected through an English language test and an interview process, and the quality of such recruitment process has been questioned always because of the lack of the qualified students or the teachers. These kind of processes are still going on. So these are identified as untrained teachers, and few teacher colleges are available in the country, provide 3-year in-service training to such teachers. They are known as the teachers training colleges. And nowadays, the younger teachers with less than 10 years of teaching experience demonstrated higher proficiency than the experienced teachers, as the younger teachers, they are more familiar with the information technology and the new trends of language teaching methodology. And teacher education is concerned, the pre-service training providers in the country are the, as I have told you already, this is the National College of Education. So mostly this National College of Education, they provided a curriculum to those teachers. So they are the three elements to the curriculum, that are the academic component, professional component, and the general component. So here in this curriculum, we can see this ELT methodology is taught, and in combination with English literature, and also 180 hours are devoted to English language teaching, compared with 200 hours to poetry, drama, and prose. So within the ELT component, 18 hours are allocated for using teaching and learning aids without providing structured input on important aspects of teaching, such effective broad use or digital resources. And as far as the in-service trainings are concerned, so English language teachers mainly, they have gone through very short-term or one-off programs. So these programs, they have been organized by the Ministry of Higher Education or the National Institute of Education or other private providers such as British Council or US Embassy. So in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education or with the universities. So these one-off projects are designed for very specific purposes. So they can be for improving teacher language competency, or educating them to introducing new technologies, using new technologies. And these programs run for a very short period of time until the allocated funding runs out. So usually this has happened. So usually there is no continuation of these initiatives. So these programs, they usually they run for 2 to 3 months. And at the same time, not all the teachers may receive the training during this time period. So teacher trainers and the training centers are also available at national and provincial and zonal divisional levels to provide in-service training. So such training initiatives also tend to take the top-down approach, and the cascading models are used to build the skill and knowledge in the teacher through these trainers. So usually a set of trainers called the master trainers, usually they have been called as the master trainers by the British Council and US Embassy, is deployed at the regional level, some of whom were trained as the master trainers through a one-off projects called English as a Life Skill. So it was initiated by the government in 2019, and most of these master trainers, they were trained in UK or in other English-speaking countries. And while these rest were trained by the British Council, and they were selected from the teacher cadre, and at the same time, their main role was to implement these externally funded programs. So they completed all those programs. And as far as these other CDP, continuous professional development programs, are concerned, largely overlaps with the in-service training. So apart from such training, say example, the universities are providing at the same time, these open universities and the state universities are giving the bachelor's degree and also the master degree programs in ELT, and also this open university and National Institute of Education also offers a full-time diploma in teaching English program, and also the universities are offering the diploma courses and the post-diploma courses in English, teaching English as a second language for teachers who have more than 5 years of experience. But however, most of the teachers may not have the opportunity to enroll in such long courses.
From the rest of the sessions?
Due to the number of places available. So there are several reasons for the high demand of private tutoring in the country. But as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, the free education is available and the state education is free until the students complete their undergraduate studies. school enrollment, school completion, and the literary rates are very high. However, there are limited number of state universities in the country, and there are national examinations to gain entry to the higher education are very competitive as far as the other countries are concerned. So another reason is the economic growth, as average household income nowadays it has increased. Parents are able to increase spending on their children's education. So as a result, private tuitioning expenditure is now seen as a luxury as far as the other necessities are concerned. So we could be able to find out the gap between the policy and the practice and the money spent by the government in improving the language in Sri Lanka. So as I have highlighted in several other sections, so there is the number of gaps between the policy and practice of English language provision in the basic education system in Sri Lanka. So the main gap are the curriculum, textbooks, assessment, and the ICT use. So overall, we could be able to see that there is a lack of alignment between curriculum, textbooks, and the assessments. So the competency given in the curriculum are very difficult to interpret, and the textbooks activities do not always match the competencies of the listed in the curriculum. So there is a gap, and student could not be able to pass the examinations, and in addition to some competency are not come to these national exams. They are not at all tested at the national exams. So the textbooks, they lack the activities that are very adequate to promoting communication skills, and some of these items in these textbooks contain inauthentic and unnatural language. So teachers guide are also too generic and do not provide the support to the teachers. So they don't know how to use the textbook to achieve the competency of the students. And as I have mentioned already, these listening and speaking skills, which are most important skills for everyday communication, are given less prominence in classroom teaching due to the fact the thing is they are not at all assessed in the national exam. So in addition to that, certain listening and speaking activities included in the textbooks do not actually practice those skills. So there seems to be an unequal ICT resource allocation to schools also, as far as these urban schools and rural schools are concerned. So urban schools, the students are they very good, very fluent in English language speaking, as most of them are coming from the upper middle class, and as far as the rural area is concerned, they are coming from the middle class and lower middle class. Their proficiency is very lower compared to these students in the urban schools. And also the teacher recruitment and pre-service training, the different teacher recruitment system bring teachers with widely varying proficiency level. So the pedagogic skills and professional and academic knowledge of the teachers are lacking, and as far as the proficiency of the teachers are concerned, nearly the 50% of the teachers found to be at the B2 proficiency level, and considerable number of they don't have the adequate level of language skills, as the curriculums of these national education colleges giving them this opportunity to practice. And although the pre-service training curriculum includes practical components, it seems that the practical components are not put into practice very effectively. So therefore, the trainees do not seem to have adequate skills in practical teaching by time they finish their training. So all these bring a huge impact when the students are coming to the university level. So even this in-service teacher training and continuous professional development programs are also lacking. No strong culture of and peer evaluation mentoring or the supervision exists at the school system. So the lack of teacher observation systems, and also this leads to the inconsistent in-service provision, and also there seems to be too much of emphasis of national exam results. So they concentrate more on these O levels and A levels rather than developing the communication skills of the students. So exam-oriented teaching methods really lead this kind of proficiency level. And also the other types of English language education provisions are concerned, no regulating body here to control the quality of English language provision at the international schools and also the private classes. So these international schools, the medium of instruction in English, and most of the parents, they prefer to send their students, their children to these international schools, but there is no regulating body that could control the quality of English language provision. And but the challenges at the tertiary level, because of the lack of motivation of the students at the school levels, of the improper textbooks and the improper training of the teachers, at the tertiary level, we could be able to find a lot of issues that are related to the students. So they lack in the motivation of studying English as a language, as most of the students, they are coming from the middle class and lower middle class, and the economic and socio-economic status of the parents, and their main aim to complete the degree program rather than acquiring English language proficiency. And also, even as far as the social contexts are concerned, they don't have exposure to English language. So in most of the students, they are coming from the monolingual society, so they lack of English language exposure in social context also. And also, there are a lot of issues related to teaching and learning situations. So there are limited facilities for teaching and learning as this overcrowded classrooms. So as far as the universities are concerned, for especially if the faculty of arts in all the universities are concerned, nearly 600 students are enrolled each year, and it's a little bit difficult task of teaching those 600 students all the 4 skills. And within the 3 years, it's simply impossible. So the problems regarding this student population and lack of facilities and resources at the university, still at the universities, the departments of English are facing a lot of issues. So so these situations can be overcome by implementing few strategies using the opportunities that are available. So the first one is regarding this curriculum, textbooks, and the assessment. So there is a lack of alignment between curriculum, textbooks, and the assessment. So because that in some competency are not given prominent in the curriculum or the textbook, the curriculum and the textbooks. So incorporating the competency and giving prominence them to the national level, and also it is easier of textbooks like activities that are adapted to promote communication skills. So they can be in this authentic way. So we could be able to accommodate them in a very authentic way. Apart from that, teacher proficiency development through proper teaching training can be provided, and equipping teachers with pedagogic skills to teach listening and speaking skills, and also to test those skills in the national exam. So since this current absence from national exams has meant to they have been deprioritizing these skills. So At the same time, the lack of emphasis was made on this comprehensive English language courses at the multidisciplinary foundation at the degree program. So nowadays at the universities, in the first year, English language is taught as a compulsory subject, but incorporating a very comprehensive English language course into the multidisciplinary foundation courses in all the degree programs. They can be the BA, BSc, MBBS, and also the introducing English core curriculum for all the undergraduates and the postgraduate programs. So nowadays the universities, the departments of English language teaching have changed, and they begin to introduce these kind of English core curriculum courses, and instead of giving this auxiliary units, and also increasing the special intake to the English course in the university. Nowadays it's available, but it's not. So usually in each year, nearly 10 to 50 students are selected as per this special intake. So increasing the number of students is also a way of increasing the number of specialized graduates in English, and also introducing English medium streams in all degree programs, in particularly where the streams are not or available presently in English. Say example, in most of the universities in Sri Lanka, arts and the humanities subjects, they are taught in their mother tongue, Sinhala or Tamil. And at the same time, incorporating an English course in all staff development programs, and also the stipulated level of attainment. So for requirement for the promotion, those staff who are not educated in English medium. So apart from that, there are a lot of challenges faced by the government and also the Department of Education and UGC, is the disparity of in resources distribution. That is regarded as the main issue because as all of us are aware that Sri Lanka faces several complex systematic challenges when it comes to this status of English in general education. And as far as the first disparities in the resource in different parts of the country, mean the schools in the rural areas and certain provinces tend to fare worse than those of the urban areas. In the south and west, and especially more affected area of northern part of Sri Lanka. And so there is a lack of qualified teachers, particularly in northern part of Sri Lanka. And also, although newly qualified teachers are required to spend time working in rural area, they tend to transfer to other areas, so to their most preferable desired locations, meaning that the rural schools not only lack English teachers, but also teachers they do have maybe inexperience. So this kind of things leading to a low quality teaching. So this problem is compounded by a relative lack of teacher training in rural areas, and also the economic crisis and the brain drain is another important thing nowadays. And most of the trained scholars and the teachers, they are leaving the country. And the overall effectiveness of English language teaching, learning and assessment in Sri Lanka has been questioned, partly due to the lack of alignment between training, curriculum, teaching materials and the assessment. So each of these elements will need to be addressed to create a very coherent research-based system for teaching and learning. So attempts have been made previously to tackle these issues, such as the teacher-centered methods and grammar-focused materials, but still lack coordination between the departments has hampered the extent to which these initiatives have been effective. So not only will training be required for those designing materials and assessment, but also better lines of communication between the main departments responsible for the different elements of this cycle. So that can be this NIE, National Institute of Education, Department of Education, as well as the training bodies or the College of Education and the institute and the universities, which are also very essential. So the ultimate goal is to create a proactive workforce equipped with knowledge and in-demand and highly valued skills, and this could be able to provide by the universities. But without facilitating and without overcoming the problems that exist at the secondary level of education, these things are impossible. The current reforms also stresses the importance of encouraging innovation, creative approaches, and the use of new technologies in all the aspects of work. So the researches are going on, and research in all sectors also given greater importance. But to achieve all these ultimate aims, so the Presidential Task Force report of the country in 2020, it emphasizes the need for policy changes. So this is most important, and also the revising curricula and learning methodologies, redesigning assessments, comprehensive teacher training, restructuring administrative systems, deploying investments and resources, quality assurance and control, and facilitating a better integrated system in both school and education, school level education, at the same time the higher education level. So the national education reforms have also identified that many without professional qualifications have become the teachers, and that is the lack of the professional training. So as per the Presidential Task Force of 2020, they have decided to restructure the education system of Sri Lanka, giving much importance to the existing problems. And as part of these proposed reforms, Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Education has prepared a national curriculum framework for school education, and also incorporating English as a compulsory subject in all levels. So when it comes to the language education, so this they identify the importance of including Sinhala, Tamil, and English as the essential languages in school curriculum as far as in the university curriculum. So this will, the aim of language teaching should be create citizens who can effectively communicate in local and global context. And though the government has made a lot of initiatives of improving English language teaching and learning situations in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of labs, but still the government is restructuring the education system. The framework emphasizes that the language teaching should not take a purely academic approach. So it instead should enable the learners to use language as a tool when or where that is appropriate. So the two main objectives of language education are to allow the learners to use language for interpersonal communication and to master the four skills such as speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So the restructuring of the education, policy changes, revising curricula and learning methodologies, and also facilitating better integrated system both in school and education, school education and higher education is only possible. And the Sri Lanka is very high level of literacy, and there is no gender disparity in school and the university education enrollment, and there is a strong administrative system for in-service training provisions. So if the government and the teacher trainers and the higher education authorities concern those issues and focus more on the challenges, definitely the Sri Lankan secondary education system will provide efficient teachers and also the undergraduates to the university to cater the needs of the nation. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions, you could be able to answer. I'm here ready to answer your question. And basically, all these informations are given through my studies that were conducted at the University of Kelaniya, and also with my undergraduate students, the northern part of Sri Lanka, and nearly 23 schools were selected. And apart from that, the statistics from a British Council and US Embassy have been used for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The participants can now post their queries in the chat box. I repeat, the participants can now post their queries in the chat box. Ma'am, there is a question from Dr. KG Veena that she has asked, what are your suggestions to encourage rural students to take up English literature in their higher education?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. That it's only possible by making them to introduce literary aspects. So nowadays, the University of Jaffna, we have launched a project of introducing English literature to the rural students, and also we are conducting workshops to the teachers and the students. The thing is, as they are coming from very the low economic background, as I have told you already, as far as the Sri Lankan context is concerned. So passing the A-level exams and O-level exams and entering the university are their main aim. So we are facilitating the students by providing the workshops and giving them the textbooks, and motivating the teachers also. So here in Sri Lanka, from this year onwards, we have planned of introducing this contact literature in English literature teaching. As example, this introducing their local literature, the literature written by the bilingual writers, by the native writers. They could be able to communicate the content of the books in Tamil also, Tamil or Sinhala. So earlier, it was a very successful one of introducing 2 or 3 short stories and poems by the Sri Lankan writers. So now the Department of Education and Ministry of Education have planned of incorporating the contact literature or the post-colonial literature written by the Sri Lankan writers. And apart from that, the universities, they have now involved in this community engaged programs, such as conducting workshops and motivating the students and teachers to teach and learn English literature. How many working days in schools? As far as the schools are concerned, altogether in working days are 180. So here in Sri Lanka, there are many holidays that are available. And apart from that, as I have told you already, this for 5 days, the 40 hours per day, English language is taught. So altogether in a week, only 120 minutes are allocated for teaching English language.
Ma'am, there is a question from Mr. Ganesh, that how do we use poetry and short story to teach in the language classroom through literature?
Yes, so that's what I have already told this, using this contact literature. So introducing poetry and language, say example, poetry or the drama or the piece of prose in English language classroom is not an easy task, because the first reason is the language teacher should have an interest of teaching or incorporating literature in English language class. That is the first thing we have to consider. And then the teacher has to make the students to familiar with the literature and make them to be interested in learning English. So literature and English. So first they can introduce the terms, or they can say, example, if you are going to take a poem and if you are going to introduce, say example is the Stopping by Woods by Robert Frost. So first you have to present them a situation that is same to their context of introducing things. So what will you do when if you go through a wood or the forest in a very gloomy period? So you have to motivate students and you have to dramatize the situation as per their context, then introducing them this poem that will have more effect. And then students, they begin to learn literature and also acquire the language skill. So this can be acquired by making them to do like a dialogue or like a drama, and then this will facilitate the students to learn English and also the literature. I think there is another question like so rural education in specific India and third world countries are segmented as caste or race. I'm sorry, I could not read it properly. And in my study, I have detailed sorry, and in my study, I have a detailed. I'm sorry, could you please read it? So I have been loaded with many major messages. I could not be able to read it.
Could you please specify us the name of the messenger, ma'am, so that we can scrutinize?
It's by Anit Prem.
Yes, ma'am. Checking on it, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, I got it. In my study, I have detailed the subaltern get ignored on higher education. Could you add how it could be moderated by appropriate board? I'm extremely sorry. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, we don't have any kind of this kind of discrimination in the higher education or even in the secondary education. So we do have this general examination, as I have already mentioned. So this O-level examination and A-level examination, and they are very highly competitive. And the students who could be able to pass this examination can do this, their higher studies. That means that they can enter into the university. So as far as India is concerned, so there are boards are here to advocating different caste and races. Actually, I don't have any idea of seeing this kind of scenario because I don't have much exposure this kind of situation. I'm sorry. But I feel like in Sri Lanka, this the education, giving education, it's a compulsory education, and the free education is the right of every child. So it cannot be simply ignored. So I hope that this can be viewed, or this view can be considered in other countries also. It's a basic right of a child, giving education, of getting education. So they cannot be ignored by the name of caste or the race.
Ma'am, there is one more question from Tabish Majidwani that he needs suggestions and modern techniques to make literature classroom more interesting.
Yes, literature classrooms can be made more interactive and interest of using different technologies that so you can use this video clips, and you can bring out this different models. Say example, so as I am, so in my literature classrooms, I have introduced a kind of model that is known as the river model. So as I'm working as a British Council facilitator for active citizen program, so we have engaged in community engagement activities. So here we use this kind of models of like a river. So first introducing ourselves, me and my identity, and you and yourself, we as the community, and then the global. So the main purpose is locally engaged and globally connected. So this kind of approach can be used when you are teaching language or literature, incorporating literature in language classrooms, of making them to involved more actively. So first you can ask about, to say something about themselves, of giving some poetic statements about themselves, about their loved ones. And then if you go into the text also, you can find out this most appropriate work, and you have to enable them to work as team, and giving them the presentations and giving them avenues for presenting themselves. So this is the most appropriate way of not asking them always the memorizing the notes, of giving, paraphrasing, giving your notes and asking them to memorize. So better leave them to think creatively. So that is the only way and the best way of inducing their creativity. So then only they could be able to adapt themselves, and they can not like imitating their teachers, lecturers. They can think in their own way. They think very critically. So this kind of mode of engaging themselves to work in groups will facilitate them a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall we wait for a few more queries, or shall we wind up, ma'am?
Sure, you're right.
Yes, ma'am, we'll wait for a few more queries.
Yeah, there is a question after my MA English for doing PhD in language part or literature. Which one is the best? Could you please suggest me? I'm waiting for your. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, so I can say that language is the best thing. That's nowadays the language is one of the things that is scaffolding the students, and also the emerging trends in English language teaching is one of the most debating topics, and also the theories of English language teaching is it's a very crucial thing in South Asian countries, even also in America. Also, English language teaching is emerged as a one of the dominant section. So I hope that it's better of doing this language part for PhD because you have more prospects rather than doing PhD in English literature. It's my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. There is another question from Dr. M. Omayarasi that is there any specific international certification for teachers in English to upgrade their skills both in ELT and in literature?
No, no, there are no accreditations given by, but usually this the courses offered by this British Council in your countries, they are known as the certified courses. Apart from that, there's the degree program given by the each university, because they are the degree programs are given, the approved degree program given by this UGC. So they can be as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, the degree given by the UGC of Sri Lanka is it is accepted all over the countries, even in England and also in America, and also in all the English-speaking countries. Apart from that, there are TESOL courses that are available and that can be given by these specific bodies such as British Council. In your countries, you can check those things, and also by the University of Oxford and Cambridge, they are offering certificate course and the diploma courses, and the online courses are also available. So you could be able to do those courses also.
Thank you, ma'am. There is another question from Saumi Goswami that what are the kind of assessment system that are available to assess? One second, ma'am. Sorry for the interruption. The question is, what are the kind of assessment system that we can incorporate for listening and speaking skills at the college or university level?
Yes. In my opinion, I think that we are in South Asia, and it is not necessary of tricking ourselves to this standard British English. As I have told you already, that in Sri Lanka, we have given much importance to the standard Sri Lankan English variety. So as far as this assessment are concerned, so you could be able to derive the video clips and the audio clips from the daily news. That means that broadcastings, and you can record them, or even you can record your own voice with the help of your colleagues. And also you can formulate the questions, and you can give them as the assessments rather than giving this IELTS listening and speaking questions. And also this for speaking, so we have to make the students to speak without having fear, that without having much anxiety. That is the most important thing. So always we are talking about the grammar and the structure and everything that students are very reluctant to speak as they are. Most of the students, I think that it's the same situation in India also, that they are coming from the monolingual society. They could not have any opportunity or the social context of speaking English language. So only in the classroom, we are providing them the chance to speak within the 1 hour or the 40 minutes. So during that period, the teachers or lecturers, we have to motivate the students to speak in English, whether it's right or wrong. So that is the way that we have introduced in Sri Lanka. We speak the language in our own way. So that is the only thing that I can think it will improve, and we can take this as a mode of assessment, and that will improve the students' skills.
Ma'am, there is another question. Would you please suggest the best language proficiency test to be qualified by an English language teacher or a trainer?
Yeah, that's the thing that there is no, we don't have any specific language proficiency test to be qualified, but in most of the European countries, so it is, so when you are going to do a postgraduate degree, so even in English literature or English language teaching, or even in other subjects in the English medium, so IELTS and also the TOEFL are the test. So mostly the 6.5 or 7 is required by those countries or the universities. So even in Sri Lanka, so the we have in the University of Jaffna, the recently the Vice Chancellor has imposed a rule or just a regulation of passing this IELTS exam will give them the promotion of confirming their position as a lecturer. They have to they have to be qualified in IELTS. That means that they could be able to get 6.5 overall band score in all the 4 skills. So usually this TOEFL and IELTS examinations are considered as the proficiency test all over the countries for doing their higher studies or testing. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not agree with that thing, right? So of passing this IELTS, or so the teacher who is very proficient in English can fail this exam. So this is not the proper examination model, but it is regarded as a proficiency test.
Thank you, ma'am. The last query of the session. With new educational policy on floor in India, where mother tongue is being given more weightage, what are your opinions and suggestions on that? Asked by Newton Chowdhury.
Sorry, could you please repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. With new education policy is going on in India right now. So where mother tongue is being given more importance for that. So what are your opinions and suggestions regarding that?
Yeah, giving more prominence to the mother tongue is there is no nothing wrong in it, but of giving them the education in English, that is the most important thing of getting more employability, and also of doing their postgraduate degrees in European countries. So English language is important. So in Sri Lanka, so the things are going in a reverse way. Of earlier that giving they have given much prominent to the mother tongue, and that's Sinhala and Tamil, and nowadays they have changed the policies and introducing, but it is believed in like Poland and Finland, the countries which are in very high in education, they believe that educating the children in their mother tongue is more effective. So giving education for the children in mother tongue is very important. So, but that does not mean that we are neglecting English language, but it can be occurred in the later stage of their life. That means that in the secondary level and in their higher education. So giving importance to mother tongue or giving more weightage to mother tongue is really appreciable, because here we don't have that kind of policy. Nowadays, it has been changed. Mother tongue should not be ignored.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering in patience for all the queries asked. Now I invite Dr. D. Geeta propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your illuminating session. You really enlightened all of us by exhibiting the complexities in the post-colonial context and ethnical conflicts prevailing in the educational sector in Sri Lanka. You have rightly pointed out the several intricacies faced by both the English language teachers and students in Sri Lanka. Thank you, ma'am, for providing valuable information about revising curriculum and the progressive assessment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity provided. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Geeta ma'am. Since today is the inaugural session of 6D Faculty Development Program, we started the session by 10 o'clock. The rest of the sessions from day 2 will begin by 11 a.m. The participants can now fill in the feedback link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you. Done.